Hello YouTube, Ben here with another video. Fragrances come in threes. I thought I'd start with a quote from the book I'm reading at the moment, Libra by Don DeLillo, because there was a sentence that jumped out at me in the opening chapter where Lee Harvey Oswald is visiting the zoo as a teenager. The smell hit him full on, of warmth and a force, the great carnival reek of raw beef and animal fur and smoky piss. So, Don DeLillo, obviously a fan of Absolu pour le soir by Maison Francis Kurkdjian. I've picked another three fragrances this week to talk about. I think most of the time I'm just going to look back on what I've been wearing in the week that's just been and talk about anything that's jumped out at me. Yeah, it's the stuff that's freshest in my memory, and I think I shouldn't overthink too much. You know, if I'm doing it around about weekly, then three, I'll cover an awful lot if I do it for a whole year, and I do three a week, so I shouldn't really worry too much about my choices and just keep notes in a journal as I go through the week about what I've been wearing, how I've been feeling about it. So anyway, without much further ado, let's go with what is most recent in my memory, because I'm actually wearing it today for the first time. It is Cèdre Sambac from the Hermessence line. I wanted to talk a tiny bit about the way about how it works picking up samples, because I think Hermès are particularly good to their customers. I came into the Hermès boutique at Harrods about a week ago and had a really good chat with the sales associate and ended up picking up three samples of the three new ones, which are Cèdre Sambac, Rose Églantine, I think it's called, and third one is Agar Eben, and they were more than happy after a conversation, and it became apparent that I wasn't just angling for some free samples. I mean, I was, but I made it clear that I was interested in the line. I didn't just rock up to the desk and say, give me some free samples, so they were more than happy to oblige me. They come in these very generous 3.5 milliliter, I believe they are, vials with a decent sprayer as well. Compare this with Frederic Malle, who have downgraded their samples significantly from ones that look similar to this in size to much smaller 1 or 1.5 milliliter vials, and there's just a wealth of difference between the two companies. I've bought a few decants of or samples of Frederic Malle things online from the fragrance community in the UK, and I've been receiving them in these nicer, bigger ones that they must used to have used but don't use anymore, and thinking, oh wow, they've really downgraded their samples to these kind of much smaller plastic sized atomizers. Anyway, so hopefully I aim to review the and just to confirm, I've remembered now. I think it's called Myrrh Églantine as opposed to Rose Églantine. Anyway, I'm looking to review the other two at some point, but for the time being, I'm only wearing it today, so it's very much a first impressions as opposed to a full in-depth review. As are all of these things that I'm going to be reviewing today. I haven't, I've amassed a significant amount of decants and samples, so it's hard when you've got a wide range of things to just stick to one thing for a week and wear it every day when you're tempted by so many other things. If this were a Thierry Mugler fragrance, it would be called Pure Jasmine, because jasmine is the only note that I'm picking up from this fragrance. I don't pick up any cedar. My main experience with jasmine is jasmine green tea, and it smells almost exactly like if you've just freshly brewed some jasmine green tea and you stick your nose in the mug and just inhale that intoxicating aroma. So I've got positive memories associated with the dominant note in this fragrance. I'm not sure whether I'd fork out £180 just for a sort of photorealistic jasmine scent, but I am tempted because it is very beautiful, and I think jasmine is a difficult note to work with in fragrance because it's very rich. It's got a lot of depth, and it deserves centre stage. I think in a fragrance that, to my nose, the only other time I've smelled hints of jasmine in a fragrance significantly is in Reflection Man by Amouage. But I feel like it doesn't quite. It kind of clashes in some ways with the other notes in Reflection Man. So it's nice for it to just get centre stage with this. And what I would say is that there's perhaps, if I'm thinking of a colour for this fragrance, I think of the colour green, and I think of different shades of green as we go through the various stages of the fragrance, from initial spray to the dry down, and perhaps a kind of lighter shade of green at the start, and then some of the richness of the jasmine makes itself apparent during the dry down. I'll certainly be testing this out more this week, I think, and possibly perfect for spring because I feel like it would disappear too much, and it would be a mixture of disappearing in summer and also perhaps being a bit too heavy for summer. Can't see it working in winter or autumn, so I think spring's the time to test this out. And I'd say it's not a thumbs up or a thumbs down at this point, but very much I'm curious. Hopefully, I'll pick up some more nuances on further wearings, and I may well come back to it later. Next up is, and I am going to apologise, all of these are going to be decants and samples. That is going to be a recurrent theme on this channel, I'm afraid. I know people like to see bottles. I would bankrupt myself if I bought a bottle of everything I was interested in. So unless I get a significant promotion at work or win the lottery or come into a big inheritance soon, I am going to have to stick to decants and samples. Amouage Opus VI from the library collection, which I have to say I've already exhausted my interest somewhat in the main line, and there's something about the weirdness of the library collection that intrigues me. I haven't tried anything else properly from the library line, so if there's others that you think merit exploration, please let me know in the comments down below, and I'll be sure to source them out, because I do think some of the weirdness and exoticism of the line is allowed to come to the forefront in the library collection. Now, when I smelled this fragrance, having smelled another ambric fragrance, I immediately thought, this is what Amber Absolute by Tom Ford should have smelled like, because I remember being very disappointed when I tried Amber Absolute. I've only tried what I believe to be the re-released version, but I've heard that's quite similar to the original. So, and I was very disappointed with what I smelled there. It didn't really do much for me. Amber obviously is an imaginary note, but the amber that I'm smelling in this fragrance is sensational and much more what I would want to see from a amber related fragrance. There is a dustiness to this fragrance that I enjoy. There is a mysterious nature to this fragrance that I enjoy. I do imagine sitting in a library with dusty old books. There's almost a dreamlike David Lynch quality to this fragrance. It evokes memories. It's a confusing fragrance. It dominates your headspace when you wear it. I wouldn't wear this fragrance to work. I think it would interrupt your thoughts too much. I think it's an evening fragrance. I think you have to be prepared to have your thoughts occupied by this fragrance when you're wearing it. It's also got an interesting balsamic note. I think if you wanted to know what balsamic really meant when it comes to fragrances, I would say try this fragrance, and to me there's the kind of balsamic vinegar quality as well creeping in. So yes, those are my thoughts on Opus 6 by Amouage. I want to try that some more as well. Unfortunately, I feel like we're exiting the winter weather now, and it's perfect for winter. It's very strong. So when I tried it earlier in the week, I just did one spray either side of the neck from a decant, so small amount, and that was absolutely perfect and lasted a long time. Trying to think if there's anything else I can say about this fragrance. No, I think that's about it. Let's keep it short and sweet. Finally, Cuir Beluga from Guerlain, which I wore a couple of days ago in the evening at. I was seeing someone in the evening, just like coffee and cake type thing, to quite a classy joint in London, and I wore this fragrance, and I think the gourmand qualities really chimed well with the, having coffee and cake and things like that. I have to say, I've almost ditched all concerns by now about masculine, feminine, unless it's like an absolute bag of sweets, femme bomb, like, some kind of Britney Spears, Christina Aguilera type perfume that I wouldn't go anywhere near. I'm really not that worried anymore about wearing feminine fragrances. Um, and the Guerlain um, line that this has come from, which often deals with quite sweet, possibly female-leaning notes, I'm interested in the line. This one to me smells fairly unisex. I've heard other people say it smells feminine. To me, there's much more feminine offerings in that vein, so it doesn't concern me. Um, to me, I said previously that Amouage Opus 6 is what Amber Absolute should have smelled like, and I feel like this is what um, Dior's Fève Délicieuse should have smelled like. I find Fève Délicieuse overpowering, nauseating, sickly, sweet, horrible. I feel like there was potentially a collective madness going on in various parts of the fragrance community. The kind of praise that was being heaped on this average fragrance surprised me, quite frankly, and made me question myself when I smelled it and was disgusted by it, and yet everyone else was heaping on the praise. I found it fairly confusing. This is similar, but a lot more subtle, less sweet. I was a bit confused by the sort of leather in the title as a note because I couldn't really smell it. But if I really dug into my neck and scraped and sniffed after maybe 5-6 hours, it smelt similar to me to Cuir d'Ange from the Hermessence line. So I can kind of see where that leather is potentially coming from, but very subtle leather if it is there. I'll be looking to wear this some more because I'm really enjoying it, and hopefully try out some of the other sweet ones from Guerlain and report back on that. So I think that's pretty much me done for episode 2. Hope you enjoyed it, and I'll be back soon.